Hello everyone. I'm just going to share this video, and I'd then like you all to join me in some deep breathing while we wait for people to join. Trying to figure out how to share it. Share. Yes. Is my voice loud enough? Anyone listening, please let me know. I'm just going to share it to Boroky as well. I think it is done. Great. Right, I'm going to do 3 more deep breaths so I can be nice and calm and coherent. Cool. I might do a couple more deep breaths, and then I will play you a song, and then I'll start talking, and then I'll keep talking for a while, somewhere between half an hour and 45 minutes, I'm hoping. But first, 2 more deep breaths. Feel free to join me. Alright. This song is called Smelly Jesus Pink Revenge. That was an abrupt stop. Jesus sits next to me on the bus with strong pain on. My body, I resent him for it. And this fog is for me, apparently. This fog is for me, apparently. I don't ask his, I just say black is my favorite color, 'cause it's got all of them. It's the densest rainbow. He tells me resentment's only useful if it motivates action. So I spitefully teach myself to truly enjoy pointless, endless resentment. Its use is my pleasure. I showed him, didn't I? Black is my favorite color, 'cause it's got all of them. It's the densest rainbow. At home I wear a soft pink sack on my head, so I know when no one's around. At home I wear a soft pink sack on my head, so I know when no one's around. Black is my favorite color, 'cause it's got all of them. It's the densest rainbow. This fog is for me, apparently. This fog is for me, apparently. This dog is for me, apparently. This fog is for me, apparently. Welcome, newcomers. Hello, everybody. My name's Toby, aka Boroky, and I'm gonna talk to yous. Hello, Josie. Thanks for letting me know that you can hear me. That's good. Everyone, let me know if I ever cut out or something like that. Hi, Indigo Blister. It is beautiful to see someone blowing things. I guess that's what I'm doing too. And hi, Lauren. And hi, Jacques. So I'm gonna start by talking. I've got a little list here to tell me what to talk about to keep me vaguely on track. So I'm going to start by talking about why write a song, and then I'm going to talk about healthy habits of a creative lifestyle, and then I'm going to talk about my specific interests to do with songwriting. And all of those things you could probably talk for years, like on. So, I don't know. So this is going to be a bit of a ramble. So I apologize for when it gets a little incoherent. It's kind of the way I am. I'm a fairly rambly person. I like to associate things and not necessarily get back to the point. But if you're really curious about a particular point that I touch on and then never address again, feel free to ask questions. I'll try and check the feed, the comments, as much as possible. And what else to say? I'm a little bit nervous because I've never done a big talk like this. Other than, school presentations and such. And they feel a bit different. Alright, I'm going to talk. So, why write a song? I thought that was a fun question to start by addressing because, well, I started thinking about like talking about production and such like, because I don't know, that's something people often do. Jacques mentioned it. He said, like, when he asked me if I was interested in this talk, maybe I could break down a track or something like that. And then I quickly realized when I tried to do that I wasn't very interested in that, because I tend to, I'm more interested in like, well, I keep asking myself questions that get more and more abstract, and I don't know if that's why I don't know why I'm not interested in talking about that, but I think you can't really choose what you're interested in, and so I slowly figured out what I was interested in, and here comes a talk about that. So, why write a song? I went through a period of depression for a few years where I was questioning everything, and so I was wondering why write a song, and I took it further back than that. I guess depression can make you very skeptical, and so I was wondering why do anything at all, and so I experimented with that a little, not entirely voluntarily. Sometimes I found that I would sit down in a chair and I would not be able to get up for a long time, and I found, well, yeah, that was my experiment with trying nothing, and so, dearie me. I guess my point is that why do anything at all? My answer to that starts with the fact that something is better than nothing, because I think if we're willing to grant that pain is real and pain is bad, then getting away from pain might be good, or might at least be better than that, than just pain, or just dwelling in pain. And certainly my personal experience was that the time spent just sitting, dwelling in pain, was much worse than the time engaging in tasks, even if they were unpleasant tasks. Just engaging with the world a bit is better. So I've decided that something is better than nothing. So if you're willing to grant me that, then you've decided to do something rather than do nothing, and then you've got to decide what to do, and that's like a huge question for humans, and especially like modern humans, where we actually have to make a decision about that, I guess, or lots of decisions. Well, yeah, and then I found that I am interested in writing songs at like a fairly early age. My first song I wrote, I think in year, well, my first recognizable song I think I wrote when I was about 11 or 12, but I wrote a song before that when I was in maybe year 2 or 3, year 3 I reckon, and it just went, I wrote it for creative writing in English. It was 2 or 3 pages of the letter A, and I showed it to my teacher. I think I had a melody in mind, but she wasn't particularly impressed. I think she suggested that maybe I should try some actual words, but I had a melody in my head and stuff, so that was a bit of a songwriting exercise. But the first song that I wrote that was a bit more recognizable as a song, or fit a few more of the tropes, was when I was 11 or 12, and I wrote my first sort of, it was like a rock song. I think I was into like screaming music, so it was probably year 8 or late year 7, so 2007, 2008. And I can sing you the chorus, and my sister actually found the written copy of this that I'd kept in a box because it was like my first song. It's a big deal. The chorus went something like, "Girl, I can't live without you. When you're gone, every day is grey. Girl, I would die without you, so forever with me, please stay. And then I think it had some screaming, just like the word scream, so rah, just to add some drama. I'm quite proud of that. But anyway, upon sitting down to write this song, I'd written some poems and things for school, and I could sing, and so it occurred to me, like, maybe I could write a song. Long live yeah, I agree, Alice. Yeah, I've got to dredge up that song. I hope it still exists. Oh yeah, I thought, maybe I could write a song. Maybe that could happen. And so I sat down on my floor of my bedroom and started scribbling and imagining some sounds that I could make if I was singing for a band or something. And I came up with this song with verses and a chorus and stuff, and it was like so exciting. It was like discovering a superpower. I've got a frog in my throat. It was so thrilling. So that was my first, I guess from then I realized that this was interesting because I could do it. Not many other people could do it. That made it interesting, I think. But also just that there was endless potential to that activity. And I was a fairly angsty teen, hence the screaming. And so yeah, I was suffering a lot, and I found that I could find catharsis in writing lyrics, but I was imagining singing in my head when I wrote them down, and so I would get all my suffering out by just writing pages of sort of dark, the tragedy of everything is clutching at my throat, and I don't know, words like slashing and pain were very common, and it was so useful for me. I was, it was a wonderful kind of way of looking after myself, and so that's why I've been interested in song. So I think I only ever really got to why we established why to do something, and then picking why to do a song. I think, my best explanation for why to engage in creative activity is that creative people, there are probably more of them than we think. Creative people need to make stuff, and so I've got to make something. And I tend to choose songs because they're the thing I've done most of, and it just, I think there's a great danger in, we often worry that, or like a lot of artist friends that I have worry that they should be doing something else, because maybe the world needs more doctors or something like that, and so if you could be a doctor, maybe you should. But there's a danger in that, I think, or there's a danger in not pursuing what you're interested in, because we have a need. Well, we're little bundles of potential, humans, and so you kind of want to manifest something that feels like it fulfills your potential. You want to engage in stuff that feels meaningful, and if you don't do that, I think you risk becoming resentful and taking your suffering out on the world, and then that's counterproductive. That seems like that's going to make the world a worse place. So if you want to create something, probably should. And then that kind of ties me into the next section of the talk, healthy habits of a creative lifestyle, which what was I saying? There are going to be a few pauses, I think, in this talk where I just stare into space and try and remember what I was talking about. You may have noticed. Maybe take a sip of tea and a deep breath, and then I'll be getting on. So, just because you want to make something doesn't necessarily make it easy to do so. And there are billions of reasons for that. But I've found that a wonderful, wonderful tool for overcoming all the billions of reasons for not creating, like, you can, anyway, I'll show you the tool and then I'll talk about how you can not do it a little bit, maybe. The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. I don't know if the words are backwards for you, but it's my Bible, and it changed my life a few years ago now, 2017, I reckon. I got it for my birthday from my wonderful partner Alice, who also does this stuff. So the Artist's Way by Julia Cameron is and if you're friends with me, you've probably heard me rant about it before, but I'll try and do a different job this time. It's basically a 12-week course laid out in a book, and so you can start whenever you like. You just buy the book, and then early in the book there's something you can sign saying, I promise to sleep well and eat well and so forth for the next 12 weeks. 12 weeks. And which turns out to be amazingly important, because I think I probably didn't sleep enough till last year, I think. And that totally changed my life. I'm now far less neurotic and far more functional. And I think a lot of that is to do with sleep. Probably other factors too. And eating as well. Just eating colourful, diverse things is I guess you're going to spend, like, a quarter of your waking hours eating food, doing meals, doing stuff like that. And so you might as well do it well, because it's like a quarter of your life. So yeah, I've just discovered that if food that I'm eating is nice, life is infinitely better. But anyway, Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way has 3 parts to it, really. There's the morning pages, which are like DIY. Well, the whole thing's a bit like gentle DIY psychotherapy. I think it's quite gentle, and I haven't heard of anyone having adverse experiences with this. I've heard of other books that have that you might want to read with the company of a qualified psychologist, and this one I don't think is like that. It seems to be pretty safe. But it asks you to write 3 pages freehand every morning, which I've been doing ever since I did it in early 2017, because it's so useful to me. So you just have to cover 3 A4 pages in words, and it's kind of like, I think she frames it as something like taking out the psychological trash, in that and she recommends that you complain about everything in your life, anything that's bothering you. I don't like the carpet. I regret that decision I made to meet that person who isn't very good for me. I'm angry at my partner for not doing something or doing something or whatever. You get it all out, and then you can start the day and with kind of a clearer perspective on the world, because the other thing you're doing, you're doing lots of things when you do that. It's a lot like the whole premise of psychotherapy, which is like the talking cure, where you just talk, and slowly you sort your things out by being able to see them, like hearing them through your ears, getting a more objective picture. You don't even, the therapist is very much there just to listen in a lot of cases. So So you do that, and that's fantastic. And you also practice being creative because you're making a thing. You're making 3 pages of like maybe not particularly riveting art, but you're making a thing. You're going from having 0 thing to 1 thing. Well, three pages of thing, and you're doing that usually because you have to do it every morning. You want to do it quickly, and that's how you're supposed to do it. So quickly that ideally you don't have time to censor, to criticize yourself. You don't have time to think that was bad grammar, or I missed a full stop, or I guess that is bad grammar. But or do I really believe that? Which is a great thing to ask yourself all the time. But well, maybe not during the morning pages, or not when you're making art. You want to go out. You want to let everything out, and then edit it later, because it's way easier to make like a bad song, for example, into a good song once it's made, than miraculously come up with a good song. And by the way, I think everything I'm talking about is sort of applicable to anyone who's wishing to engage in any kind of creative endeavor, whether it be making perfume or designing buildings or whatever it is. But yeah, morning pages are very handy. Goodness, I've been talking for almost half an hour already. I'll talk really fast. That'll make it really engaging. I don't know if I can. I'm a bit of a vague plague. So the second part of it is artist dates. So it works on something that I think is a Jungian premise, the idea that you have an inner child and you want to develop a good relationship with that child. And so you go on weekly dates with it. And just as you would go on a date with a person, you aim to do something that's fun, but that doesn't have too many distractions, so that you can play together and try and, try and get to know each other. Spend some quality time. And so that's really great fun. It recommends that you don't necessarily do things that you feel like you should do, because that's sort of adult, things like going to the art gallery, for example, in order to accumulate, like high quality influence for your art or something. That's not at all what the artist dates aim to do. I think that's like a legitimate thing to do in your other life, but not for artist dates. That's more, artist dates are more like going to a sweet shop, or I love going to the movies personally, or going, I ride my BMX, that's another great artist date, or I don't know, things that a young child would find super fun. Like if you can find a bouncy castle or something, I've been on the lookout for that sort of thing. I reckon that's kind of the ultimate artist date stuff for me. If anyone knows whether there's something like an adult fun factory, they had them in Canberra. It was like a warehouse full of like tunnels and slippery slides and ball pits, and it was the best thing in the world. There was no better place to have a birthday party when I was like 4. So that's the second part of this book. And then the third part is gentle exercises exploring your past, sort of gently having a look at your childhood wounds, and especially like creative wounds, things involved with you trying to make something and getting shut down for it, and also your dreams, and the whole experience just added an amazing amount of color to my life, and sort of started a kind of intuitive swirling in my life, and it's the reason I was advertising this talk as like a talk about my creative life rather than my creative practice, because and then I realized it sounds a bit like I'm an old seasoned creative person talking about looking back on their life, which is not what's happening. But anyway, I guess if you have a desire to make something, to be creative in some way, I think, well, my what I've learnt for me at least is that actually I want to live a creative life, and that extends everywhere. That extends to my friends, being lovely, supportive friends. I've been so lucky having moved to Melbourne. I don't live in Melbourne. Having moved to Sydney, to encounter almost immediately a really lovely, supportive group of creative friends who've been like who support. So if I show them work, they'll probably just say that's great. And I've actually negotiated that relationship with my partner and my best friend and some of my closer friends, where I've just said I don't want any criticism, at least not from them. I just want them to just tell me a good job and allow me to hear the work or see the work or smell the work through their ears, mouth, nose, whatever. I got off track there, but I also got excited, so maybe that's good. So I guess that's another tip about a healthy creative life. That's sort of come. I mean, Julie Cameron recommends it. So anyway, I'll finish with that stuff. I'm trying to think of any. I think I can just move on. I've covered the artist's way and a few things about what I think it means to live a creative life. But oh yeah, maybe just the fact that a creative person's whole life is interconnected, or at least mine is. Maybe some people compartmentalize it all, but I've just found everything affects everything, and since I sort of started being playful, started embracing my inner child, and trying to find new and old things that really stimulated me, that were a bit different, because I think this seems to be true of most of my creative friends. So I think I make lots of broad statements about creative people. Sorry. But I think creative people are always after novelty, and since I did the artist way, I've sort of been able to allow much more novelty into my life, and that's like that's interesting, as I wouldn't really describe myself as someone who's really into novelty in some ways, or I'm quite a conservative person in terms of the way I live my life. I like, even when it's not COVID-19 season, I tend to spend a lot of time at home in my room, and I get all my new stuff, or a lot of it, just from the internet, or from reading books and such like, or from taking a new route through my neighborhood on my walk. That's like the exhilarating stuff for me. That's as much novelty as I need, but it was novelty I wasn't really getting before I started thinking about it, and aiming at it. And I also, a lot of people, anyone who knows me will have noticed that I dress like a toddler, and that's as a result of having gotten in touch with my inner child enough to often hear it just screaming commands about my dressing, like, no, that's boring. We want to wear red, all red. Everything has to be red. I don't know. That happens to me quite often, because red is my favorite color. But right now I'm blue, because I was keeping a cool head for this talk. So I've got a sort of blue-green t-shirt and a blue jumper and blue pants. So I'm all, and pink slippers. I can't show them to you. I'm not flexible enough. All right, so that's my take on that. That's what's helped me live a sustainable life as a creative person. Live an existence that seems to be relatively suffering-free and creative full. Because I, like, in my depressive years, is how I'm referring to them today, is like basically the years before I moved to Sydney, although maybe the year before was getting better for sure. I really struggled to make anything that I was happy with, and it was awful. It's like, yeah, the worst kind of torture. And so yeah, this artist way stuff has really helped me get out of the way of myself and play and have fun and not take things too seriously, and thereby make way more stuff. I've sort of now I'm not going to boast about all the stuff I've made, but I make things in lots of directions. You can see some paintings behind me, and I write poems and all sorts of things. And that's actually another really useful tip, I reckon, is to attempt at least one medium outside your usual set of like your usual scene of competence. I don't know. Just try something new, like if you're a musician, try painting or writing or designing some clothes or something, because I find often that's like a great way of if I'm feeling a bit stale in one area, I start doing another area, and especially a fully non-verbal area, because what I really struggle with is writing songs with words, because words have like songs have lyrics, and lyrics are words, and words are what you use to criticize stuff, and so it can get really critical really quickly, and I struggle to get out of my way. And then if I go do a painting or something, it's just non-verbal, or even or improvise with just music. The soup of my brain gets flowing again, and everything can work. So that's that. So let's move on to my specific interests to do with songwriting. I'm basically gonna just mention maybe like 2 things that seem to be peculiar to me that I think are interesting, that you could always try at home maybe. And then I'll open it up for any questions. It's fine if you don't ask questions, but we're not there yet, so I'll start talking about my peculiarities. Thanks, Andrew. Andrew says, loving this so much. Cool. This was a perfect place to encourage me. I was just getting worried. I'm going to take one more deep breath and then tell you about some peculiarities. Maybe one more. Feel free to join me. So when I closed my eyes just then, well, a peculiar thing to my creative practice is that I like to meditate, and when I meditate, I sit down usually on the floor with my eyes closed and experience visions. And I don't take drugs. I don't even really drink. It's not that's not that's not part of it. I just, on the back of my eyelids, I often see enough to start something that I think must be something like dreaming while you're awake, and so I see images unfolding. I see all sorts of things. Maybe I can describe a couple to you. In fact, when I just took those breaths, I saw a lovely framed square, which is probably just the residual flash from my square window that's shining light on me right now. And in the square was a squirrel shape, I think, and it did kind of like a kickflip with its body. It sort of moved diagonally and rotated like this, corkscrew, maybe that's called, and then transformed into a boat which sat beautifully on a perfectly flat water. And I felt like that was a little a sign of encouragement to myself. And this is, I try to interpret anything that feels like it makes an impact on me, which is like most of what I see usually. But yeah, I would interpret that as something like I've taken a squirrely corkscrew leap at something new, which is this talk, and it seems to be landing well, according to Andrew House's encouraging comment. And so it showed me this stable boat which is sitting on stable water, and water's like chaos, but it's like plonked itself nicely, asserting order on the chaos, as if I've achieved a nice boatly balance. So thanks, Subconscious and Andrew. And so that's something I delve into a lot for. Well, not a lot actually. I should delve into it a lot more, I think. But something I tend to be messing with when I'm creating things. Often I find its greatest use is actually to tell me, like, what decision to make when I've got hard decisions to make and stuff. I'll often have messages via visions. The closest thing I can immediately call to mind is one I had a couple nights ago, where I envisioned a letterbox, and then a donkey's head emanated around it. It was sort of swirling and then solidified and then spat out the letterbox. The donkey's head did. And so I kind of took that to mean I've been struggling a bit with there's a man who runs a label who will hopefully be releasing my music in the near-ish future, and I've been getting kind of anxious about not receiving emails from him, just because he's a bit of a slow emailer. And I think that vision was telling me to stop making an ass of myself via stressing over my letterbox, my email box. So that was quite useful, because it's true. and when I see that kind of thing, well, sometimes, often the best visions aren't easily verbalized explicitly, but for example, one time I saw a person, a male about my size and age, walking towards me through trees, lovely autumn leafy trees, and then suddenly the man shrugged, and the whole world kind of fell back off his shoulders like a 2D set, like it had suddenly become a 2D set, and he kept walking, and when I witnessed that, I felt this giant sense of relief, and I still don't know exactly what it was about. Feel free to interpret, but I've really gotten off topic, but that's a good story. I'd love to hear what people think about that. And that brings me to the song I played at the start, which is probably a good way to tie this up, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially the thing that really, like, I mean, I wonder about the whole song, and I tend to be interested in a song if I don't understand it, but it seems to carry some kind of meaning for me. It gives me goosebumps. That's when songs tend to get finished, because I'm like, what? What is this? But like, it's an interesting image or something. But in Smelly Jesus' Pink Revenge, there's this bridge about, at home I wear a soft pink sack on my head so I know when no one's around. And you know, maybe it is just meaningless gibberish, but it really got me. I'm still wondering about it, and I'm hoping one day I can verbalize, figure out a specific meaning for that, because I reckon it's got one. It rings with meaning for me, but I know not what that meaning is. And so I've been live for 45 minutes. So I think at this point I will. Yeah, I think I'm kind of done. If anything occurs to me in the next 30 seconds, I will maybe say it. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, please ask. It's fine if you don't, and then I'll go and make a cup of tea in that case. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a lot of fun. Trying to think. And I hope you got something out of it, or, I mean, even if you hated it, I guess you can hated it. I guess maybe you can have learnt what you would like not to see or not to do in a talk in the future. But hopefully not too many people had that experience. thanks for listening to me talk about my life. I'm not seeing any questions, so I'm going to slowly move towards the end button. And feel free to private message me if indeed you have some questions. Thanks so much, everyone. Love you all. Where is the off button? Oh no. I'm trapped to be live forever. End live video. Bye.